we all are scared about, what might happen and jobs might go away. I'm excited to see how far we are going to get with technology, like what's going to develop. Like there are three humans and two agents present in that meeting, kind of thing.
Everyone who tells you that they've got something figured out about AI right now is lying to you because no one's got anything figured out.
I couldn't tell it was AI. Like I felt emotion from it. Yeah, but it got me. I bought the thing.
So really excited to have you here, Zahwa. Zahwa, I'm not sure like a lot of us know what you do, even though I've been following you on LinkedIn lately. I've seen your stuff that you do. So like for
Sure.
anyone watching you right now, could you like give us this insight into what you've been doing lately?
Sure, sure. So I am actually the builder advocacy community manager. So we have actually branded ourselves from developer advocacy to builder advocacy. So it's not just that developers we are looking into, it's any kind of builders. Like maybe if there's someone who's just building AI workflows or something like that. So that is also an audience we want to cater to. All right. So I just manage the mostly the developer community at Okta. I take care of the socials, the organizing events. I'm also doing something that is called the Champions Program very soon for Okta. It's going to be similar to the Microsoft MVP program. So yeah, that's kind of jobs I've been into before. I have managed open source repositories, of the firms that I've worked in. I've mostly worked in, high-paced, US-based startups, um, and maybe done events, organized booths, working at booths, take care of those
So what
things.
got you started into this?
Okay, so that's actually an interesting story. So I started from my first year of college itself, and I wanted to be a writer. Right, I loved writing and all, and I loved coding as well. So I was looking at a ground that combined both of my interests, and I got into technical documentation first. So I was a technical writer before. I worked with a couple of startups, and I was working at a startup that was called JDoodle. Okay, it was basically a browser-based IDE competitor to Replit, and it was pretty cool. It had like 99 languages on the platform that you could use online, Pascal, COBOL, all those kinds. So over there I used to interact a lot with developers, get their feedback, do a lot of the advocacy work without realizing that time I was just a tech writer, because in startups, you take a lot of other responsibilities as well, go into different shoes. So that's where that company, they switched me to advocacy. They said that you just don't have the title, you have already been doing the works. So that's where I came into this field.
You told me you started off as like a developer writer, right? Like for for like I think it's like right for the community events. I remember it being like such a huge part of like the developer community a while back.
Yes, yes.
Do you think with AI and everything, do you think that sort of pathway is still like something that someone can start into? Because with AI, I feel like I've seen a lot of these programs sort of like shrink, especially because a lot of people are now focusing on converting their documentation and content automation, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel
So
about
what I believe that the task has become easier because of the assistance, but it doesn't mean that it's had diminished, right? Like if there was a team of five, there might be a team of three now doing the same thing, or a team of two. So I feel it has reduced in that manner rather than going away. All right. And I feel like, there has to be, because AI cannot use the product and understand the features and everything, that there has to be someone to do it and translate it, even though maybe AI can, structure it and make it, format it in a better manner or something. And I think, yeah, that still needs to be done. And that part AI can't still do, I believe. And I think it might take a while since before AI can actually do that.
so as like now as a developer advocate, how much of your life, how much of like your day to day is still in like developer writing and like the things that you started off with?
So it's a little bit right now, not much. So right now I just do some social media posts and stuff. So I wouldn't say that's a lot of developer writing, but a little bit does contain, because I'm still catering to the developer audience. And I do, I've just contributed to one, but I will be contributing to a few blogs. We have a blog page at Okta, developer.okta.com/blog. So there, all of our advocates are writing. Even the SMEs from our company, they are also contributing to it. So that's also a place where I would be writing. So I believe, yeah, that would be it. Not in documentation now, but a little different format.
All right.
Oh, since you mentioned the blog, like I've read your blog, the one where I found my way to Devrel.
Oh yeah, that was on Okta. Yeah.
Yeah. Bonus points for handing around Phil Dunphy's code.
Thank you.
So, I've been just going through stuff like before the podcast. I've been just looking into your content. So, I wanted to like you talk a lot about being excited about simplifying a lot of these developer concepts, talking into making it easier for developers. Like, do you still believe when AI is such a thing, and honestly, we're losing attention span? A medium like a blog still holds? Because I see a lot of these companies tell me, or like a lot of these founders tell me, oh yeah, I have this AI writer, or I have this AI that we've given enough context and a prompt to. So what do you think about that? Like you've definitely told me that it got easier, but like is it completely being obsolete to a point with AI? Especially since reading is not such a strong medium anymore. Like I
Mhm.
personally feel. So what do you think about that?
I think it depends upon use case to use case. Like, I think it's really still relevant to write blogs because even the AI, the LLMs, they are pulling the information from somewhere. So if you're writing about something specific and something important, and people are using some maybe ChatGPT or Claude to understand that, they will actually be pulling data from what you've written. Right. I think that is still a factor. I think it has been repurposed instead of SEO. We are doing this AI SEO more, like your whatever you are writing
Yeah.
should be indexed by your LLM. So I believe it's not obsolete. It's just that they might not be reading from your platform. They might be reading your content through a chatbot or something.
Now, like a lot of documentation before was, especially in like open source repositories, they were all written for the user, right? Like for the
Yeah.
developer, they were all written from like the point of view of the developer. Do you think that's like changed so far, like, or do you think like documentation would always be written for like a human reader, or rather
Yeah.
than like an AI reader?
No, no, I
There
think it
are
is still written for human readers, as far as I know. But yeah, please, you were saying something. You can complete.
there's a there's a new project that's actually popping up, which is documentation for AI that's very much like not it's in like a JSON like format, so that's
Mm-hmm.
easier to like search and index and look up particular facts. And as well, I've seen a lot of people the way that they actually give context to their models. We're using source code for like open source
Yeah.
projects. I don't think it's a thing for proprietary from like
Mm-hmm.
platforms,
Yeah.
but mainly for open source projects, they just may have them run through the code. Like, do you think there's like a benefit, or do you think it's like a double-edged sword, like that we're going in that direction?
I think both should be done. Like, it's not just the AI adoption or just, writing for human readers, writing for just AI. I think both should be done. There
Hmm.
should be a middle ground for both because there are still people who would just come to your documentation to just follow it in the easiest manner possible because there are several documentation, maybe your Stripe docs or something that are really reputed for that you can just go and follow instead of waiting for an LLM or some your chatbot to answer. Because even then, a lot of times they do make mistakes in explaining things to you, right? Documentation is actually very very reliable, and everything is there, right? So I think both should be done. So there are different kind of users. One who want to learn through AI, one who want to go the traditional way. So I feel like both of them should be there.
Okay, this is an
Like,
interesting question that I like recently been asking a lot of people. Uh,
Okay.
like, do you think that like I've had a lot of my uh, developer founder friends tell me that they actually
Mhm.
miss the old days when you used to like just go through a bunch of Stack Overflow forms trying to figure out how a problem is solved. Right, it's sort of like a big puzzle that you get to solve yourself. Do you think AI has been like a net positive or net negative in like a developer like in a as like a developer advocate perspective in the lives of developers, like what do you
Okay.
think?
I think as far as I have talked to different developers, and as for me, I like that AI is there to help me out. Like, let's say, if although this is like a little different, but as a developer, if I'm, maybe creating something, building something, and I get stuck and I have absolutely no idea to figure it out, I like that I get some hints from AI to help me out to take it forward instead of being completely blocked and going into 10 different sources to find things. Like, maybe I would have to have gone into Stack Overflow or something like that. I have a central platform to get the answers that I want. Or maybe, let's say, if that answer wasn't there on Stack Overflow, right,
Hmm.
then I would have to wait or maybe go to Reddit to get someone to answer it. Right.
Hmm.
So I think I like that because the also one more thing is there that learning because of that has become easier, right? You have an assistant there to help you to take you forward. It doesn't have the learning doesn't have to be that complex in case you do not know something, because every minute there are like 20 new technologies popping up, and it's
Got
so easy to
it.
get tricked into them.
Yeah, so just like adding to Dev's question, I feel like using AI a lot, like I feel like it goes two ways. I
Yeah.
see a lot of these technical writers, especially even on my team. They tell me that it makes their lives easier on research, but then when I talk to developers, they're like, I'm tired of this AI slop, AI slop has been
Yeah.
secretly sneaking into a lot of these things that they have been consuming. And
Mhm.
so, like, being a DevRel yourself, like, where do you draw the line? Like, okay, yeah, that's enough AI. Or a better question I would feel like is, how would you decide a good product or a good developer marketing artifact, let's call it, a good developer marketing artifact from one that's basically slop?
Yeah.
Right,
What
right.
is love, what is not, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
what
I
is
get
AI
it.
slop?
Yeah, so I believe that whatever content that I write, I try to write it by myself. Even if it is not 100%, at least 50% I'm writing it, because I would know better, like, my perspective, my way of writing. I think it can, emulate that to an extent, but it can't be me at any point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mhm.
words that I put into it, the emotions I put into it, or maybe the anything funny or ironic I add to it, or some relatability that I have experienced in my own life that comes from my experiences, AI cannot add that. So adding that, I believe, differentiates it from the AI stuff. I think there should be a limitation over here. Like, AI should not become your voice. You should have your own voice,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that, I believe, is what differentiates from the AI scope, and that is what helps in developer marketing, because you have a voice, right? That people can
Mhm.
relate to, people can understand. It's not generic something, because using AI content, everybody would be saying the same thing then, almost.
How would you define like your voice when you're like talking about AI, right? Like, is it the way that you frame words? Because I've seen projects where people they've emulated like movie characters and stuff with AI, right? Like they've emulated, I think it was Rocky from Project Hail Mary, where they made like an AI bot that sounds like him, and it even has its like codes and like factoids and stuff.
Yeah,
So I've seen projects like that, and I think like when does it reach a point when it becomes indistinguishable, and when it hits that point, right? How do we, as like one people who are just really into tech and want to talk about it, stand out in like, I know
yeah.
we have like stories, but again, I've seen very recently I went to like one of those, this is how you AIify your business boot camps, because I was like
Mhm.
really curious in what they were doing there. So I paid like the $100. I went through the meeting. There were like 5 classes, and one thing that they were doing was they were taking out stories that they've had. So they would basically have like a notes app, like a voice memo app, and they would like speak to it about like all the stories, and they would like speak to it over for like hundreds of hours, and then they would plug in that to generate their content. So they would have their own stories plugged into their AI content, right?
Yeah.
But at that point, is it AI slop? Is it just that person's content, but then they're like just mass producing it? You get it? It's like it's a little
Yeah.
bit to the
Basically
extreme.
define the Turing test for like DevRels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we developers do is we actually go in and use products and features and translate it into the simplest words possible. Like the
Mm.
experience part is I think what differentiates from AI slop. Like
Mm.
because maybe we would have found some shortcut to do it, or maybe we found a bug that we can maybe help that, hey, okay, this at this step maybe you might face issue with this. This is one or two things you can do like that
Gotcha.
maybe did not exist before and we have added to it. So I
Mm.
think that is something that is different about what developers are doing.
As
That's
like a
true.
developer relations, like a developer advocate, right?
Yeah.
Uh, what's been like the best and worst part of your job so far?
Okay, the best part of my job has been talking to people. I absolutely love the developer community, hence, my title, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I love talking to them, interacting with them because each and every person offers a very different perspective into what they're doing, what's better, and what they would like to be done. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting hearing those conversations. So, that is something I love most. And what I dislike right now, maybe because I have worked before in startups and right now I'm working in big tech. So the processes to, get things done is really slow in big tech. So you have to be very particular. And, like a small idea takes a long time to get executed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Mm.
that is something I'm kind of facing issues with currently. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think nothing else
You
beside
miss the
that.
speed. You miss
Yeah,
the
I
speed
miss.
of startup.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, this kind of feeds into the next question. Like, in like startup culture, apart from the freedom, is there like something in that big tech has that you think startups don't really have,
Yeah,
and vice versa? Like, I
we're
know
taking
start.
notes because like we own startups, so like we both want to know.
Yeah,
Like we want to know. We
I.
ask this question to a lot of people.
Mhm.
Okay, so sometimes I don't know that sometimes startup can kind of sway away from their vision. Okay, because
Mm.
what happens is like working in medtech, I've realized everything is goal oriented. Like, what would be the benefit of it? What would be the XY things that I want to achieve through what I'm doing? Okay.
Mhm.
So a lot of times I find that lacking in startups, even though initially it is started on that, but things because the landscape is changing so much, we need to like kind of evolve to maybe sometimes change those needs or the ways to do it. So I believe that is kind of missing in startups because of which a lot of startups fail as well, I think. Because
Mm.
things are
We
not
agree.
goal oriented, yeah.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my viewpoint. I could be definitely wrong. And in big tech, I kind of miss the speed of doing things. If I have an idea, I can,
Yeah.
like if I'm taking ownership of a certain projects, it takes a lot of time to get through everything.
Mm. Gotcha.
Why Okta though? Like I'm just out of curiosity. Why was Okta your choice?
I did an interview with Okta a year back exactly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the interview process. Like I loved the conversations I had with my interviewers. It didn't actually feel like an interview with the recruiter interviewers. So it just kind of sat with me though that the company culture is really great, right? And I want to get in kind of thing. But that time I couldn't join because I had some personal issues at the time. Like my grandmother had passed away, so I was like, no, I don't want to move at the moment. I was living at home, and yeah, and then when the opportunity came up with advocacy, I just applied that. I wasn't even looking for a job elsewhere. I just saw the Okta job specifically and I applied. I wasn't even looking. I was really happy with the last job that I had. I was doing well. It was nice, although hectic, but that's the story of startups. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just took my luck and I got in.
What part of Octa's culture did like was it actually that sort of what exactly was the things that you know?
I just, first, it was just the way people talked and interacted. I really loved that. Like, it was a very, very friendly environment, completely away from toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which was something I
Hmm.
really, really liked during the interview process. That was something I realized. And then besides that, the perks and everything is amazing. Like it's great, and they are very accommodating, understanding. Even though it's a big tech, all of that is there. At least the team that I work with is really great. I've had like it's been a little more than 2 months now, and it's been great so far. I've had no issues.
Awesome. So, like from your experience, right, and you've interacted, you've had a successful event right now. So, like, what makes developers such a unique audience to you, like in your perspective?
Okay, I think developers are very straightforward human beings. They do not like marketing gimmicks. They just like if they like something and they see a value in it, they go ahead, they try it, they explore it, they try to add it. And I love that most about them, because in every other field, I believe people have to use marketing gimmicks and, everything else to, attract their audience. With developers, you just need to have a really nice thing for them to try out. No BS, no gimmicks, nothing like that. That's what I like most about the audience. They are like straightforward.
My mentor, we had like, me and Dev had a sales mentor who used to say the
Yeah,
best sales job in the world is where you just have to talk about the product, and because the product is so good, people just get excited automatically.
yeah,
Like that would be the perfect sales job. So like it reminded me that maybe talking to a developer through developer advocacy is like almost closer to what we can achieve. But like I
yeah,
see a lot of these companies, right, still online, um, push for quantity of a lot of things. Like I see a lot of these people, because I work in developer marketing and getting videos done for these developer education things. I see a lot of people like, you know, when can we have a viral hit? When can we have this 1 million view video? And I'm like, I'm sorry, but your product is so niche. We have like maybe 100,000 people in the world that will actually know what your company even does, or will.
yeah,
So like when navigating that space where you have a lot of these, on one side you have a lot of these metrics that you have to keep up with, you know a lot of these company goals that you have to keep up with, and on the other side you have like the nicheness of it all. Because let's be honest, developers are very focused human beings, even though they might be in a lot of these, we can cover them with a huge umbrella called developers. A lot of
yeah,
them are interested in very specific things,
yeah,
and not everything will speak to everyone.
yeah.
So
Obviously.
how do you manage that? Like being in big tech, I was curious about that. Like how do you manage hitting those goals while keeping up, quote or true to your audience?
Right, right. So there's a section like a particular, engineers that are called IAM developers. Okay,
Hmm. Yeah.
they are the ones who have the most use of Okta. Okay. They are
Right.
called identity access, it's called identity access management, IAM. And those kind of developers are the ones who need Okta. So I just directly target things to them. That's it. It's actually pretty simple for us. The audience that is. Yeah. So yeah, it's basically that. It's somewhat a bit of DevOps is there, system administrators, those kind of. So yeah, knowing your audience within developers also is also very, very important.
Hmm.
With
Like,
particularly regarding IAM developers like SysOps, DevOps, those kind of people, what have you found to be like the best way to reach them? Like, because right now we're dealing with content, and content is such we're like trying to get people's free times, and a lot of people don't. I know a lot of developers do like to do this on their free time, but a
Yeah.
lot of people don't, and like the ratio is definitely like on to the lower end. So like
Mm-hmm.
how do you actually break in, like if you had like an audience, let's say sysops engineers or like devops engineers,
Mm-hmm.
so far from like all the testing that you've done, what's like the best way to reach this audience? Like how would you actually reach them?
Yeah, I have found two ways that are there. One is LinkedIn, second is, small community meetups. But yeah,
Mm,
obviously the problem that you're talking about, those community meetups, that smaller ratio people are going to be there, I believe, unless and
mm,
until there is something actually to learn, right?
mm,
That they could benefit from, or it shows an actual benefit for their career. until then. Otherwise, I think making good, knowledgeable LinkedIn posts, interacting with them on their posts, on their profiles, I think that is what helps. That is what helps so far. Because right now, what devs have also realized is being active on socials is very important for them being visible because of AI happening. So I see a lot of them making different posts on the existing knowledge that they already have. So just interacting with them over there is the best shot you got, I think.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I think it's great that developers are actually building personal brands right now
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I've seen
It's
that trend come up.
it's
yeah,
really cool because I see a lot of like people on Twitter just post like cool projects that otherwise would have never seen the light of day because they probably built it and like show their two close friends.
yeah,
But
exactly.
now there's like a lot of those out there just because a lot more
Even
people
X, by the
are
way,
showcasing
yeah, I
them.
forgot about X. Even X, there are, your indie hackers and all who do all this kind
Oh
of
yeah,
stuff.
I've seen the coolest little niche projects come up on X in my feed. It's like, hey guys, I've just built this
Mm-hmm.
thing that upscales satellite images for you guys.
Yeah.
I did
Some
this last week and just randomly, please enjoy this. Let me have And then it goes into a whole community where he's just suddenly, a few days later, he has like 10,000 people following him, asking him
Yeah,
questions.
it is. X is crazy right now.
Oh yeah, dude. The other day, also, I think Discord is being super super huge right now
Yeah.
because the other day I was in. I do not know if you know this, but there's this. There's been like a new player in like the game emulation space. I'm like really big in that space, called Isu, and I've been in their Discord group a lot, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
managed. Yeah, these guys managed to get their emulator running on a refrigerator, on a not refrigerator, on a microwave oven. That was
Oh,
like, yeah, it's an emulator. You can't even run games on it, but you can run ISO on it. You can run the thing that runs games on it, which is crazy, right?
nice.
Where's a chip it can undo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And dude, something I'm kind of curious about is like when it comes to reaching out to these developers, there really isn't like a metric we can track, right? Metrics makes things easier and like sort of scalable. So like, and also you kind of need like a target or something. So like, what's sort of like your target, or what's like the metric that you kind of chase in like as a developer advocate? Like,
I think, yeah, for developer advocates, I think metrics are something I ask every kind of developer advocate, and it's kind of very hard to nail down a lot of times because what could happen is people are reading your blogs or maybe they learned about you in a video, but then they just go search on it about it instead of going through like whatever resources you have provided, right? So it could be sometimes tough in tracking. Right now I don't have a benchmark set because I'm very new over here, right? So I have been given some time, but what I am currently looking at is growing the LinkedIn page, okay, and just creating a community of people and everything. So, like how well that community does, maybe not sure if it depends on numbers right now because quality is better than quantity, but the how successful that is like important to me at the moment. And let's say we are going at events or something, how many people came at your booth, interacted, or maybe if you have a CTA, such as getting a feedback or a survey, how many people did that also counts your success.
gotcha. So it's like a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nothing nailed down actually.
gotcha. Um, so for us as like Tejas media companies, the one we had a conversation with one of our customers for uh, content marketing. He does content marketing. He tries to grow startups YouTube channels, right?
Mm-hmm.
So uh, we do it by creating and uploading YouTube short form videos.
Okay.
And they started off by telling us views don't matter, it's the amount of people that come to the links. And then they
Mhm.
ended up telling us that views do matter and subscribers matter more. And in the end, it was a whole lot of everything, like we didn't
Yeah.
really get anywhere with that conversation.
So I want to give Zawa a little bit of context there. So we
Hmm.
used to do influencer marketing, right?
Okay.
So we both were into development, but the thing was, uh, going through college as a broke college student, We
Yeah.
picked up influencer marketing, had a few
Mm-hmm.
friends as influencers, going great. So I thought, let's mix niches. Let's go develop and one of our friends who was a DevRel at the time contacted us, and that's how the whole thing started, by the way.
Okay.
So, but
Nice.
when we come to this, it's very straightforward for influencer marketing. It's like, oh, okay, did that one go viral yet? Oh, okay, how
Mm-hmm.
many million views did you get?
Mm-hmm.
Or in a longer term, we would be like, okay, what brand deal did we close? How many brand deals did we get, and what's the net revenue we got from it? It's pretty straightforward. But when we
Yeah.
come into something like developer marketing or talking to developers, there's no immediate result that you're going to give. First of all, it's not going to be appealing to a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
because I might talk about something that's very specific, like I've said, very niche, and maybe like 1,000 people view it. I'll get like maybe a few comments about it, but that's it. So okay, so maybe for that video, and sometimes when I talk about a broader topic, I'll get like 100,000 views maybe. But
Mm-hmm.
then again, I can't use views to measure this success of it. And
Yeah.
we're like, okay, you know what? Let's do how many people are clicking through the blog links. Let's see how many people are visiting the website. And then that became a whole hassle because people are already interested in the video. And we've come to find out as people who watches videos, they usually just tend to keep watching videos instead of click off and go read a blog.
Especially
Yeah.
short form videos. You just
Especially
swipe.
short form videos because they're probably lying somewhere, relaxing, just watching this and like, oh, okay, cool. They just swipe away.
Yeah.
So as a creative, right? Again, like, how do you? Okay, and then we've come to the realization that you know what we're going to call it. We're going to look at retention time because any creative, how long someone stays and watches your creative thing, even if it's an art piece, I believe that's a good indicator of how much they like it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we decided that is like, okay, let's focus on that. So being a creative yourself, like being a writer, I think you have come across retention in a point, like how far they read in your piece. How do
Yeah.
you keep retention in for like developers, especially, or like when you've used technical writing before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
technical
Could
writing.
you repeat the last part again? I'm sorry, I had a notification. I missed that.
Oh yeah,
Like,
cool, no problem.
yeah.
In essentially, in like sum it up, how do you keep up retention when you're
Mhm.
talking to developers? How do you keep retention in your content when you're talking to developers?
Okay, like maybe a blog or something, right? I just make it kind of a bit fun, a bit relatable to ensure that they keep reading, they have a smile on when they move forward, right? So
Right.
that I think keeps the energy. Otherwise, I think with developers sometimes very straightforward content also works. So what I
Mhm.
do is like, depending on the audience, you have your Google Analytics and everything. You can just go in every piece that you are taking it forward, you just ensure that if it is over a minute means that piece is doing well, like your average retention. So it's
Got it.
either completely straightforward, or it's just maybe add a little, a fun elements in between, maybe a very small story, or maybe something really fun that they might like have a little spoke about it. But yeah, that is what I do. Having images, visual elements is also really, really nice. Maybe a graph, or maybe a nice, like maybe some blocks of code they can explore, or they can maybe just click it over there and try and see how it works, or maybe a gif also that maybe shows a certain place of how things are happening, like maybe they're in a certain step. So yeah, those kind of things is what I do to for the retention part.
Do you think it's like important for you to have a personal brand being a developer?
Yeah, I think so. I think every the DevRels basically, I believe, are face of the organization that they work with. So they are the actual bridge between the company and the developers, and
Hmm.
it's through them that the developers interact with the company. Maybe learn about new features, new stuffs, new happenings, meetups or whatever, right? So I think it's important that developers have that kind of a presence over the developer community. It doesn't mean that it needs to have like 100,000 or million following. Just respectable, enough, within their own community, they should be known that okay, yeah, I know this person kind of thing. Like as you talked about, things could be very niche, right? So
Exactly.
depending upon their target, they should be really, active there in that space. I think that is important.
Absolutely. So do you think like developers in creating personal brands and stuff, do you think when a developer migrates from one company to another,
Mm-hmm.
like they've already built, let's say you've built a community in company A, and
Mm-hmm.
you're known for like your face is identifiable to whatever you do in your company A.
Yeah.
Like when you shift to or migrate to a different company, do you think that they'll have to start from zero again, or like would it be a hard time communicating like completely different company with a whole different community?
I
How do you
believe
think about
not.
that?
I so far have done it and I have not had problems. Okay. So
All
I
right.
believe what developers value is complete honesty about what you're doing. If you update that, okay, hey, this is what is going on with me as a personal brand, then I think it works. And it also depends, like if you're transitioning within the same community, I believe that also works because you have the same audience. You just are, just giving a disclaimer that hey, I'm at a new place now or something, right? But the
Mhm.
context is the same. If it is different, then you have to kind of learn about it and kind of regrow it in that place. Like maybe, like for me right now, the audience is very, very different. It's a certain group of developers that have to connect and focus to, which I'm currently doing. So it totally depends upon the type, but being honest, being open, updating things, I think it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really put that much of an impact, I've seen.
Hey, let's let's talk about Okta for a second. All right. So uh, Okta is sort of like the tool, like from my experience with development, Okta is sort of like the tool that I get asked by my CTO to use on like this project because enterprise users are using it, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of developer content is actually like the amount of CTOs reading your developer content is actually significantly lower than like every other category, right? But yet they
Mhm.
are the people that actually have the power
Yeah.
to sort of like push it into their systems. So uh like why is like is there a reason why like CTOs are very hard to target, or like why are we like why is like right now, hold on, let me just hold this thought in my head for a second.
Oh, no problem.
uh, so the idea is sort of like Okta is not really a tool that I would use for like a pet project that I would build tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? It's very hard to get into because it's like it's an enterprise tool. I wouldn't build it unless I have like 200 people that I know is gonna
Yeah.
use my software, and they're like employees that work for my boss.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you convince people to actually try out Okta for the first time, especially with like such a it's sort of like that area where it's kind of daunting because it's enterprise has this whole scary face value, you know.
Yeah. So it's basically, so we don't ask everyone to try Okta. The marketing is different as I would have done in startups. In startups, you do that. You encourage people to, try out tools and developers. Here we already have a community and we ask them to try whatever is new. Or if someone is aspiring to become the, IM engineer or maybe a system administrator, to them Okta, using Okta is what makes sense, right? It doesn't for developers who might have nothing to do with it. There's a certain batch to it who are targeted to use it, or maybe within their company they are building the Okta system or something, or they have an app, or maybe they are a startup founder with over 100 employees who want to use it. Then it makes sense for those group of people and not for some general developer who's just coming up to just try it. Maybe it might be we are coming up with something called Okta for AI agents, maybe then it could be, but yeah, that is also something we are needing down. We do have something new called XAA, okay, which
Mm-hmm.
is called cross app access. That is something I believe that your general developers might try, and that is something we are marketing to see what's going on, how much interest is there.
All right. What is XAA? Like, just I've never heard of it, so like I'm actually quite interested. What is it?
Yeah. It's basically an industry standard, okay, for connecting your agents and stuff, that that we have introduced. It's something open source, okay, that we are
Hmm.
adapting. I think Anthropic has recently adapted it. A few other companies have done, big tech have done it. So I'm also very new to learning and understanding it because I'm new over here. I don't have deeper insights into it, but yeah, you can check out our blog section, to understand more.
Awesome. Cool. So after like when you come talk about like AI agents, right? Okay, so first
Hmm.
question. This is sort of like personal coded, but like as a person that sort of like thinks that AI is sort of like a boost on and like a clarification. How do you feel about agentic AI that like completely like transforms how code is being built? Because with agentic AI, you just give it a task, bunch of agents
Yeah.
go through it, and then like you just come up to like the final app, right?
Hmm.
Like, do you think AI is there yet? Like, do you think we moving to agentic AI is like a little bit too soon, or like what's your like feelings about agentic AI?
I feel it cannot replace a developer as of yet, as people
Mm-hmm.
have been saying that it might happen. It's like
Mm-hmm.
basically maybe a developer intern kind of thing who can do those tasks for you, right? But it's still very, I think it's still very new. It has a lot of issues, lot of bugs. Like I've tried to, use a bit of agentic work for maybe, let's say, automating my stand-ups or something, but it feels a lot. Like I have to, like half of the times I have to just do it manually, and I've noticed with it that a lot of teammates. Like, just saying, just an example. So
Like, what would
yeah.
have to be better to like make it to a point where you would say, "Oh yeah, this is it." Like, this could sort of change it. Like,
Yeah.
what would change your mind?
Okay, so maybe at a point where I don't have to do a lot of manual intervention, and at a point where I can just, set that, okay, this is something it has the permission to do, and maybe, permission not to do kind of thing, which is something Okta is working on actually.
Mm, cool.
If you wanna,
Now,
like, oh yeah. So we had a conversation with at a developer event for like I think it was a Codex event, where they were
Okay.
talking about how like developer roles and builder roles are changing to people who are actually doing the coding to people who are actually taking the responsibility for the code,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like, how much do you think that is true for what we do in marketing? Like we can generate infinite amount of LinkedIn posts and infinite amount of posters right now, but the thing is, how much do you think it's all about taking responsibility for what you've created at the end of the day? Like as human beings, we're getting to a point where execution is not the limiting factor, but rather taking responsibility for that execution. What do you think about that?
I think, yeah, responsibility is absolutely important. Like, although you at the end you are owning it, but it's coming from you. So, I think that's, like, I don't know how to exactly put it, but that's actually very, very important. This is why you have to be very, very cautious of, whatever you're generating. Like, it's been vetted through, everything is like pitch perfect kind of thing. Because if you have like, if you don't really need much time to execute, you should actually focus on the perfection of things now,
Mhm.
right? Because that has become the easy part. So yeah, I believe that is what I'll say to it.
I've actually heard that a lot of software has actually gone down in quality now that a lot of it is actually not being written
Yeah.
by people, especially like very
Mm-hmm.
recently Linus Torvalds started using AI agents to build Linux, like the Linux kernel.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
been a lot of backlash because people are expecting like bad quality code to be pushed in.
Okay.
Um, so like it might be very obvious that now that people are doing less of the work, that they would be like more focused on hey making sure that thing that actually works right. But it's actually
Mm-hmm.
very like quite the opposite, right? It's the
Yeah.
opposite effect that actually happens.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think that is? Like I like because usually as someone that uses AI, I make sure like once something is done, like it's actually done? Why do you think there is that difference between if I build it myself, it just gets done, but like, is it? Do you think it's like just people want shot prompting, or like what do you think is like the main core issue that leads to like a lot of
Right.
regressions when AI coding is being introduced?
Yeah. So what I have experienced and what I have seen by talking to a few developers that I know is that
Hmm.
if they prompt AI, maybe it might be a prompting fault too. I do not know really. But when they ask AI to write a certain piece of, maybe logic for them or something, it just makes it really, really complex, which could actually, in their, opinion, be a lot simpler. All
Mm.
right. So I think that might be a really big thing that might, turn down the quality of software or something. Because then, if it is a really complex written code, it would be complex to debug it, complex to understand it, right? And if and it would take that much space as well, right? If it is that complex, if it would have been simpler, it would have using less space, less memory, less everything. Right.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that is what I've experienced to be one of the issues, the code quality. That is.
Code quality. Now, code quality is like such a abstract term though, right? Like because
Yeah.
back when I was an intern, we used to talk about like solid principles and this is how code should be. And back then we had projects which no one has touched for like years with
Mhm.
spaghetti code, which no one really knew what anything did. So like I
Mhm.
don't think code quality is like an issue that's new. I feel like it's been an
Yeah.
issue like for a while, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but like, do you think we could solve this? Do you think this is like a solvable issue where do you think we could like maybe set up guardrails to make AI better and maybe have like better code?
Maybe, may not be. I'm not sure because I've not tried anything like that as for now. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure if that could happen. But yeah, maybe that could be possible. I think what I feel is developers can do at this point of time is if it is something very much repeatable, like they have to, write it over and over again. Like let's say maybe they can, generate your files and structure and everything to start something. I think that is something they can get done by AI, and the rest of the logic and the complex stuff they can handle it themselves. Like I
Mm.
believe that could be a good solution instead of waiting for
Exactly.
AI to give a solution, and then it becoming complex, then them having to solve it through and everything, the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Got it. I wanted to
What
ask you
like,
something completely tangent from what we're hearing. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
right? Just one more question. Like with the whole world kind of like moving in this direction and everyone sort of like running in this direction like full speed right now.
Hmm.
What are you most excited to see? Like, or like, what are you most afraid would happen? It's like a double-sided question. Like, what?
Okay.
Let's start with what are you most excited to see?
I'm I'm excited to see how far we are going to get with technology, like what's going to develop. Are agents going to be similar as employees to us is something I want to I'm
Mm.
also afraid about and excited about, that what would it look like. Like there are three humans and two agents present in that meeting kind of thing.
Um, all right,
Okay. Okay,
all right.
yeah.
What were you gonna ask about?
It's like something I wanted to ask is if someone like watching wanted to get into like DevRel today, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would ask them to, go to community meetups, meet different people, make connections. And,
Mm.
I would want them to start by building their own personal brand if they do not have absolutely nothing to start with. Okay. If they're software developers, then they probably know how, developers work, developers talk, right? They already know
Mhm.
all of that. It's easier for them to get through than someone who does not like me. Like I was just a technical writer. I do not have actual software development experience, right?
Right.
Mm.
So what I got into is I built my own personal brand. I was, and it wasn't like I did not understand developers because I was writing for developers before as well, right? But maybe for someone, they should go to meetups, they should explore different software, try out different features, maybe build out a project or two just to get into, the to how things work, how developers would think, what problems they could face, things like that.
Gotcha. At this
Yeah,
point, like working in developer advocacy, would you call yourself like a developer? Like, would you have you like build projects firsthand and like?
I actually have. It's more like hobby projects, but yeah,
Mhm,
other I mostly take care of community at the moment. But yeah,
mhm,
the other advocates on my team, they have been developers at one point of time.
mhm.
They still do build projects. They build projects for developers and they turn them into blogs and videos and share them across to make it easy for them to, explore anything new that we have.
Gotcha. What's
That's
the
something.
coolest project built by one of your developer advocate friends that you've seen so far? Like, just give me like a glimpse of what you've
Sure,
seen.
sure. So right now, mostly they are building projects related to XAA. So
Hmm.
whatever projects they are building or have built are focused for seasoned developers. It's not for beginners or for students because a product is kind of complex. It's not that simple, right? And it's basically how they could use SAML and cross up access or maybe different languages like C hash and cross up access. So those are the stuff they're doing, and I think it's really cool.
Gotcha.
Like being in a developer advocate, especially like in our country, right? Like there's a joke in my native language that says if you throw a stone up in the air, you're probably gonna hit someone working in tech, right? That's the joke. So like we have lots of people who come out from colleges, especially with a computer science degree, or even if they don't have a computer science degree, they usually end up working in a tech firm of various sizes. So the
Yeah,
thing is, how do you like? You've definitely gone to university here. You've definitely got into big tech through here, and I think a lot of people who are watching would want to know, like, because a lot of something that we face as a community in our country right now is employability. How do
yeah.
you think people can get into these conversations where they are considered into big tech, or like your average tech student passing out or getting out of college or uni? What would you tell them so that they could be employable in big tech right now?
I think I would say three things. The most important is building skills.
Hmm.
Building skills and growing your skills, and like just keeping up with the pace in which our technology is evolving, because as I said, like every minute there are like so many new things happening. uh,
Hmm.
Keeping up with that, I think building a kind of a personal brand gives you some sort of visibility if you
Right.
want to do that. Not everyone wants to do that. So I think skills is very important. Skills make you noticed anywhere and everywhere, right? And third, I would believe is just have some like great soft skills, communication skills. Like let's say you're approaching a certain person, how to talk to them, how to approach with them, how to connect with them, so that let's say tomorrow if you need a referral they might give it to you, right? So I think these three things are important. I have seen a lot of students, what they do is if there's some opening, they just, the way they reach out, it's not like, I'm not a fan of that, to be honest. That's not the way to do it. They just, without even introducing themselves well, they just share an email and a resume that please you can refer. They could do something a little more. They could maybe connect at that said person, maybe if you want some help at an event or something, introduce in a certain way. I think soft skills are also very, very important, and having the actual skills. I think these two. And if they can, then, go for a personal brand. That would also like that would be a really great way of demonstrating your skills.
Gotcha.
How do you what do you like qualify as like good skills? Because even in our line of work, a lot of people ask me like, yeah, I have picked up video editing. I've been doing it for 3 years. But then
Mhm.
when I like look at their portfolio, it's like, with all respect to if anyone who has given me their CV, it was absolute garbage. Like
Yeah.
they've done 3 years, but they've done 3 years of skills in garbage. So how do you
Mhm.
qualify a good skill from a bad one or something that's not relevant to their?
Yeah, I think maybe the projects they have built would be a good demonstration if I'm talking about developers. Okay.
Right.
It also, I believe, like if developer interviews are being done, their projects are what helps. Like where they have done the project, if they have done it personal or if they have done it with a company or an internship or somewhere. I think that really distinguishes them. I think that would be the demonstration of skills. Like, yeah,
Like hard, solid evidence that yes, I've done
yeah,
this.
yep, yep.
Awesome.
What would you consider like a really good project, and like what would you consider like what is sort of like the checklist that you would sort of go through in your head when you see a project to be like, oh yeah, that's a really good project and that's interesting.
Or like even in Devra, like a good piece of content. Like what's that checklist you have in your end?
Okay, so like a developer project you're talking about, I believe.
Hmm.
For
Yeah.
Yeah.
something very unique that is different from the market, not just the idea. Like maybe a while ago, I saw a resume of a student who had
Hmm.
kind of made his resume into a website, and it was kind of a Mario game. That was
Oh, that's
really, really cool. Yeah, that was really, really cool. Thinking out of the box, and he actually built all of that. So that's a really great demonstration of his skills that he is, qualified to do whatever he did. At one place, at those he had. I think Mario has those pipes and stuff.
hmm
Going to that place and clicking there would open his resume. Other would open his contact. I think that was really, really nice.
that's
That's
really cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Something I've heard of, and this is like uh, a lot of like developer recruiter YouTube channels, right? They actually advise against building stuff like that, which is crazy to me, right? They say that most recruiters don't like spend 2 seconds on your resume, so you
Yeah.
have to make it the most boring thing ever. Would you
Yeah,
like?
that is different. Yeah. So I'm not sure from the recruiter's angle how it is, but in startups, I believe those all are liked. Okay.
Mhm.
So my resume is also a little bit like, it's a bit long. It's like 2 to 3 pages for, at the moment. Okay.
Mm.
And I did get into a big tech through it. But yeah, I think your resume should be simple, but you can add the link, of it, to demonstrate your skills for, maybe a hiring manager or whoever is interviewing you, for them to look, because they do look into it. Maybe the recruiter might not, but
Mhm.
others will.
Gotcha.
What do you think like developer relations will look like from 5 years from now?
I think we would be advocating for agents as well, and not just developers
And
and builders and anyone in the like whoever is creating something. It doesn't just have to be with or without code, they might be doing it.
Mm.
that would be an interesting sight to see. Like I'm very curious about how we would like start marketing to. We would have
Yeah,
agents to market to agents,
yeah.
like removing us from the equation itself. That's scary, but like yeah. So that's an interesting thought. But
I
like
believe.
always, like, yeah. Go ahead.
No, no, sorry, I'm interrupting you. So I believe it's just going to be an evolution. Like whoever is adopting and growing with it is going to stay. I know, like we all are scared about what might happen and jobs might go away.
Mhm.
But I think like a similar scare came when WWW, was first launched. The boom of it,
Yeah.
everyone was scared like what would happen and everything, but people just evolved, and I think that is what is going to happen. I'm not sure how the evolution will exactly look at this point of time, but I think that something like that is going to happen.
Yeah, like even at the conception of the web, I think
Yeah,
like people were scared, and some people were right to be scared because like a lot of people did lose their jobs
yeah,
because I don't know my local postman's name.
yeah,
I've probably know them less than my grandmother did. But the thing is, at the same time, a lot of things have come up, like our jobs.
yeah,
We don't exist as a employable community without having the internet available to us everywhere.
yeah.
So I think that does happen. Like it will evolve, like you said, like it will evolve into a state.
I think
Mm-hmm.
it actually has already evolved to some point, right? Because
Yeah.
last time I was talking to a larger company,
Mm-hmm.
and last time I was looking at their positions, it was like software developer, senior software developer, JavaScript developer. Now it's
Yeah,
like forward deployed engineer.
yeah,
Uh,
forward self-employed
AI
engineers, latest. Yeah.
AI driven engineer. You have agentic engineers. Like it's all these new positions that did not exist back like at least 2 to 3 years ago. It was crazy.
Yeah.
That's an
Uh,
interesting, like it's very interesting, especially since on a marketing perspective, I think it's very like I'm watching it very closely on what is going to
Mm-hmm.
happen next because of because when AI came out and people figured out they could do more than just write their emails with AI ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
people are like, oh, okay, yeah, let me automate my LinkedIn. I have personally watched a course on someone teaching me how we can use, like, 2 years ago something, ChatGPT to get more clients on LinkedIn, and those were
Nice.
like for $90 you can teach you how to do that. So like, but now I look at one post in LinkedIn, I'm like, oh my god, this is AI. This is so AI. I don't want to read this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like I I've I know I think a lot of people that I used to follow back in the day have a lot of their stuff as AI now. Like I'm sure that they even the person that's replying to me is AI at some point. And I got a scary phone call. Not scary. It's scary in some ways, but like super cool
Or
in
like
other ways.
sales calls, like, where they talk like a human, but it is AI. Like, that it's AI because of their voice, the robotic voice.
Yeah. But the
well,
scary
uh,
part of it was I couldn't tell it was AI. Like until Dev told me, I was like, hey, I'm getting this call. This guy is really good at sales for some reason. And I was like
Mhm.
telling Dev, hey, dude, look at this guy. This guy's really good at sales. I should just probably ask him. But then Dev was like, no, that's AI. That's not even a real person. And it sounded disappointed in me because I was leaving.
so,
I
uh,
felt
so
emotion from it. He was
Oh,
telling
nice.
me, well, we're so sad to see you go. And it sighed somewhere in between. It gave
Oh,
me a somewhere in between. And I was like,
oh,
yeah.
completely
damn.
screwed.
So to give you some context, that was a voice bot trained on actual salespeople's conversations,
Yeah.
right? So conversations that salespeople have, they kind of create this tree, sort of like, hey, if this person says this, this has to be the next thing you say. So it's very programmable, right? Especially when you go through like 1,000 salespeople, it kind of creates the structure, and then that was what they just heard back then,
Yeah,
which is
but it
really
got me. I bought the thing. It won me over. But
yeah.
that then again it comes to the thing like, okay, yeah, now I can just get a sales bot. I can
I
get
feel
a
like I feel like more than like AI, I feel like what's important is like data and expertise, right? Like
Yeah.
as a person that's been doing, like maybe as someone who's been doing developer advocacy, maybe like all the blogs that you've written so far, that might be more important because that kind of has like your voice, right? And I feel like
Yeah.
your voice would be really cool. And then I feel like that could be like AI could be like sort of a microphone to like amplify your voice to like a lot more people for a lot of more topics.
I think
Yeah.
that's
Uh,
pretty interesting.
Okay,
Because like when
actually, something interesting in my notes that I was just scrolling down and I saw. Apparently, did you used to write poetry before you actually started becoming a
Yeah.
developer advocate?
Yep.
Oh,
I
that is
still do
crazy.
those.
yes, we
Oh,
need
you
more
still
context on
write
that.
poetry?
Yep. I
Oh,
have, like, there are these poetry collections that were there from like very small, small publishers. I have been published in that as well.
That's
oh,
insane.
cool.
We have an author.
So, like, how do you actually like start with? Because a lot of this is something crazy because all of the developer relations officers I know, and they just know this too. They're either into like music, right? Because they're either into like music, poetry, or uh, like some sort of like outlet of creative, like some sort of creative outlet, right? And it's usually like I haven't met like a developer advocate who's like really into drawing. It's always like poetry, drama. They're into
It's
like
for me,
theater.
it's drawing as well, actually. I do calligraphy, paintings, and all of that.
Oh, that was really cool. How would you sort like? Do you think that has like sort of a connection with like going into developer relations rather than being like a software developer? It's like because
Yeah,
you're like more creatively outward.
yes, yes. that is. Yep, yep. Because I actually, there is some you do need to have ideas when you're, a developer as well. Because if you're writing code logic, there could be creative ways to, write a certain piece of code or something. But yeah, I did want to, interact with the community, although I'm a bit of an introvert personally. But I
Hmm.
did like interacting with the community, writing stuff, having my own campaigns and projects. So, yeah, I
Hmm.
like the creative part of it. That is what led me to a different direction. Although I was an engineering student, I completed I have an engineering degree.
Cool.
How was your engineering experience? Because I'm an engineering grad too, and I hated it. But like,
It wasn't much, to be honest, because half of the time COVID took over during my time,
all right.
and rest of the half I had started with work and internships and projects already. So college was just basically to get my CGPA in, and that's it.
Do
I
you
wasn't
think
like this thing. I was in a tier 3 college.
How was developer advocacy during like the COVID time? Because like I bet that was like I remember Discord and online platforms being like really, really active. I saw like chat
Mm.
rooms with like 50 people on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you really could like kind of like talk to a lot of people at the same time. But at the same time, like I saw it being very hard to get your voice noticed during that time, right? Like because there's a lot of
Yeah.
people who's like talking at the same time. So like how was developer advocacy or like when you started during like the COVID time, how did that scene look? How did like the
I
developer
did
scene
not start developer advocacy in COVID time. In fact, I didn't even hear of it at that time.
look?
So when COVID started, I was still in my first year of engineering,
Oh,
and
okay.
that was when I started with technical writing and stuff. I think I got into developer advocacy in 2024, so it's not that long ago.
Okay.
what got you into it? Like, where did you hear about it?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it. I was working in a startup. It was a browser based IDE over there. Since it was an IDE and there was no other advocate or something, I was, writing documentation, getting feedback on how it could be. Then, I, started taking more responsibilities on how the product could look like. And I was already writing blogs and stuff. So they kind of, transitioned me to an advocate.
Got it. Like coming back to the education thing, do you think like in our country we could get a complete revamp on technical education? Especially,
I absolutely believe so. So I did my engineering from Calcutta. Okay.
okay.
And the syllabus is highly outdated over there. I think the syllabus that they should have taught like 6 years back, they were still teaching the same thing, except a few things like maybe a DSA and, yeah, just maybe DSA and maybe networking and stuff. But a lot of
Hmm.
things were outdated. They were not actually teaching the industry requirements of what things needed to be. There was a very stark difference of what developers needed to do. Like they had to do things on their own to learn to actually get a job versus what was being taught in college. I don't know about the scene of now, but that was there during my time, and it was a huge gap.
I feel like a hard part with standardizing developer education is that, as you might know, like the industry moves really, really fast, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
agentic AI wasn't a thing a couple of years ago. Like, so how do you
yeah,
teach someone when everyone who's actually an expert is learning themselves? You know, like I
yeah.
talked to this one. We had a founder on named Carl Hughes, and he literally told me, everyone who tells you that they've got something figured out about AI right now is lying to you because no one's got anything figured out, right?
Yeah,
So like how do you teach someone when a lot like even back when I was working for I was working in an agency like a couple years ago, so at that point Next.js was like the new thing, right? That's when I was
yeah,
working there, and then people are like, oh, I know the best way to create components in Next.js, but that wasn't true either back then, right? Because well, nobody knew it there, and even Next.js devs didn't know it. I had a conversation with like a Next.js developer relations officer, and they were like, well, we're trying out stuff and we see what the developers actually like. So they're like testing us and we're like trying to figure out what they intended. It's like two
yeah.
sides trying to form an image when both sides don't have any idea about what the final image should be, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, I think it happens a lot in AI. But yeah, what I think colleges could do is like, they could invite guest experts who are actually good in it, maybe have a small workshop programs based on it, which I didn't see much happening during my time. So maybe things might have changed now, but I think those workshops or maybe some part-time classes based on that day that they could inculcate in the syllabus, I think that would be really nice thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
I feel like
One,
a
yeah.
lot of
One
things that.
disclaimer. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah. One disclaimer, if I am looking down occasionally, it's because I have a little bird over here. So
Oh,
she's
okay.
sleeping in my
Oh,
lap.
what's the name?
Her name is Pixie. So she
Pixie.
just ran to
Hey,
my lap
Pixie.
to sleep while I was talking to you guys.
Mhm.
So
Hey,
yeah.
we like. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
My
yeah.
dad
So
actually owns a bunch of birds, so
yeah.
there's a
Oh, no.
bunch downstairs. Although
Yes, it's like a
I
bunch of
haven't
birds.
gotten the time to like be acquainted with them yet.
Oh, okay. So she's like a few weeks old, so I think
Mhm.
she's small, so she wants to just, sleep in my hand. So she just came running, climbed over me,
That's
and I
that's
was
about.
in the meeting, so I couldn't put her back.
Mhm.
That's all. Pixie, just feel free to join us, Pixie.
She's sleeping
Yeah.
right now.
All right. So like, I think we've consumed a lot of your time right now.
Oh
It's
no,
like
all good.
so. Like
Yeah,
before we wrap up, this is sort of a tradition on a podcast.
Yeah.
If everything that you've told us for the last an hour and a half, and every piece of content that you've put out completely vanishes off the face of the earth, right?
yeah.
If everything you've built disappeared tomorrow, and you only had the next 30 seconds to leave one message for developers, devrels, and people trying to build a career in tech or
Hmm.
build something generally, what would you say?
Get hands on.
Yeah, that's a
I
bang.
think that's solid advice.
That's solid advice. She did
That's
not
it.
need
That's
30
what I would
seconds.
say. Get hand on. Just instead of waiting for someone to tell you, just go ahead and try things.
That's awesome. Hey, thank you for like joining in. I know you guys have a busy schedule, like meeting a
Yeah.
lot of people.
No worries. Yeah.
Thanks for like joining in a podcast.